WhisykJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting not rare, but rare and exclusive whiskeys here. Exotic, ooh. Laphroaig, Cask Strength, 10-year-old, batch 12. 60.1% ABV, bottled on the 7th of February 2020. Now, I do have the 13, which will come soon with a video, soon within the next 4 months, who knows. And I paid 90 euros for this. All right. Whiskybase number 159190. Now, I am not the Pete head yet. I am not a disciple of Laphroaig. I am slowly but surely getting into the world of Islay. May 2022, I should be on the island of Islay. Yay! I hopefully finally visit Laphroaig. Maybe I'll have more, not just appreciation, but more excitement about the distillery after that. Now, for a couple of months ago, I actually did a blind tasting of Laphroaig. And in this Laphroaig blind tasting, there were all the different things. Even Select, I think, was in there. I don't know. But the 10 cask strength really was one of the highlights for me. So I did buy it online directly from the distillery. They do have a shop here in Germany, so I don't have to have the UK Brexit import issues, which is very, very nice. What am I going to compare it to? You're going to laugh, but I'm going to just still do it anyways. The normal 10 Laphroaig. Why? Because I'm still learning how to identify the distillery profile. My goal is that one day, maybe not in the too distant future, maybe in this year actually, someone could put 5 or 6 different whiskeys in front of me, original distillery bottlings, and I could actually blind and be able to distinguish, oh, that's the Kilchoman, that's the Laphroaig, that's the Ardbeg, that's the Lagavulin, that's the whatever. I would love to be able to do that. I don't know if I will be able to do it one day, but I would like to be able to do that. Now, the very, very first thing that catches my attention is the color. So here's the 10-year-old, which is much lighter than the, I'm sorry, here's a normal 10-year-old with 40%, and here's the 60%. Here it says with artificial coloring. Here it doesn't say anything. Why does it not say natural color? All right, Beam Centauri, make me happy and make everyone else happy in the world. Write natural color on it if it is natural color. You do write on the back here, original cask strength Laphroaig, trademark, is barrier filtered only to remove the small tar particles that are pleasant, but this filtering does not change or lessen the flavor in any way. In extremes of temperature, it may appear a little cloudy. This is the condition of a malt of such peaty pungence and purity of flavor. We recommend that you add twice, I'm not sure why they did that, twice as much water as whiskey to fully appreciate the taste characteristics of original cask strength Laphroaig. Whiskey at cask strength may overpower the palate, but adding whiskey will release a rich aroma of peat smoke with some sweetness and strong hints of the sea. Wow. All right, so there actually is an online calculator. I'm using one from Austria, so it's in German, I'm so sorry, where I can take the alcohol content, 60%. I could have taken 60.1, but I just took 60, and I want to put it down to 40%. What do I have to do? So if I have 1 liter of this, I want to have then 40% down to here. I need to add half a liter. So half a liter takes the 60 down to 40%. And so I have 1.5 liters. So here I was thinking, oh, if I add 2 to 1, I have triple as much whiskey. And if I have triple as much whiskey, I have the triple the price, which would be actually fabulous. So then I could do that and say, hey, it's actually well worth your money, but it's not that calculation. It might be due to flavor, but it's not due to volume, all right? So if you actually dilute this down to 40%, you are going to have 1.5 times and not, please do not add twice as much. Oh, if I actually added twice as much, I get something around 20 to 30%, which is way too diluted in my opinion. All right, so I don't know if they would have written down something, add 1 part of water to 1 part of whiskey, I would have went, why not? But 2 parts water and 1 part whiskey just doesn't cut it in my book. Oh, talking about book, I'm going to look at this here real quick. Maybe someone else can clarify me. I'm still learning about the distillery here. Now, most of you know all about the stories. I've at least heard it here about then all stills are fitted with ascending line arms. 4 shots are usually long, 45 minutes. The middle cut, 72%, goes down to 60%. It is one of the very few distilleries with its own maltings. Oh yeah, I did know that. Now this is the thing I don't understand yet. Maybe you can help me. All right. So we have here 15% of their peated malted peated malt comes from the distillery themselves. That means 85% is externally done. Now what they do themselves is they actually take peat smoke and put it on there for about 12 to 15 hours, and then they have hot air for 10 hours. Nothing very unusual there. The remaining malt comes from Port Ellen and the mainland. And that lies between 35 and 45 ppm. So what we have here, we have 3 different sources of peated malt. Now, I am of the opinion, might be wrong, that probably they don't send peat, from the island of Islay to the mainlands to the malting facilities. They might, but I don't know. So if they don't, they're using different peats. That would affect the taste. And I'm not really sure if Port Ellen is using the same peat as they use there at Laphroaig. Could do it. It's the same island, so hey, take a tractor, put all the peat in there, bring it down there, and use that. But that would mean, of course, that all the peated malt, malted barley is made specifically only for Laphroaig from their peat, which I hope they do. I'm going to visit Port Ellen. I'm going to try to visit the malting facility there. I'm going to call up and I'm going to contact them and say, hey, I'm a whiskey tuber and I'd like to go there and film and to inform people of what you're doing and how you're doing it and so on. That's going to be something that's on my to-do list for 2022. So when I get there in May, actually that's set up. But I'm really kind of worried that if we have 3 different sources of peated malt, that might not always be the same type of peat used. And so how do you create the typical Laphroaig peated character? All right, maybe someone can enlighten me or shed a little bit of light on my problems there. What is also very interesting is the distillery is running at full capacity, which means 35 matches per week, 3.3 million liters, and about 75% of the production is destined to be bottled as single malt, and the rest is used for blends. Now, the question is 70% single malt. Is that including also the amount of whiskey that Beam Suntory, the owner of Laphroaig, gives away or sells? They don't give it away, they sell it here to the independent bottlers as well. And what is also very, very interesting, I thought, was that Laphroaig actually, after Prohibition, trademarked the name Laphroaig in the US. And even before single malts became a thing, Laphroaig was already a thing in the United States. I'm going to have to research that a little bit more. So, before the 1980s, everything was a blend, basically. We still have that same problem today with most of the whiskeys made, produced, and sold from Scotland are still a blended Scotch. And so this Islay peated style of whiskey was basically a spice. It wasn't made to be the 100% pure ingredient here. All right, so it's a spice. Now, just think of a spice as, for example, I'm going to say pepper. All right. So normally when we have a peppered steak or we have a pepper gravy, we don't eat pure pepper. I don't anyone says, "Oh, look, some peppercorns. Yummy, yummy. Oh, yeah, that's what we want. Give me more." But that's basically what we're doing here with the peated single malts is these were made to spicing up those nice little blends to give them a little bit of a peat smoke moment and not to overpower our palates with peat and with alcohol. Now, this basically has both. It says it clear. Cask strengths can overpower your palate with 60.1%, and it's a peated whiskey. Now, we have developed, just like we do with bourbon in the United States, back in the day, 1980s, there were not any real cask strength bourbons out there. And today we always complain, anything below 50% is just too weak for me. And sometimes I do the same. All right. So it's just like, give me my cask strength and I'm happy. Give me my bottled and bond at least. It's a 40% bourbon. Ugh. Yeah. And that's how we've developed. That's how we've changed. That's how we've maybe evolved into these cask strength, barrel proof monsters that we are. And this actually just goes totally in that direction. Now, Laphroaig 10 was first introduced on the market as a cask strength product 1995. So 26 years ago. 27 if we count 2022, which it is now, but I don't think they introduced it in January, but that's okay. Uh, that's a long time. All right, so it's been out here a while. This is batch 12. As I said, I have batch 13 over there. I'm going to pull it out, and we're going to compare the two, but I really just wanted to compare these two with each other. All right, wow, a long history lessons here with WhisykJason, but that's what I'm doing with my channel is I'm learning. I learn by teaching others, and these videos are basically my teaching videos where I try to share with you some of the nuggets of information that I have found out. I hope you appreciate it. And I hope you help me to learn even more about Laphroaig and other Islay distilleries out there, especially where they get their torf and what torf, that German word, where they get their peat and where do we get the good stuff. Now this is interesting. Because first of all, 60.1% it doesn't smell like 60%. It smells like 48. Now I do get a tiny little bit here. I'm gonna of seaweed. I'm gonna describe it like this. Imagine you have like a rainbow trout. Yeah, you just caught a rainbow trout, you make a fillet out of it, and you're actually someplace. There's sea trout. Yeah, let's imagine you had a sea trout, not rainbow. You have a sea trout, you're actually down there on the beach, and you have pick out the sea trout, you fillet it, and you have some seaweed. So you wrap the fish with seaweed really well, and then you put that fish for about 20 minutes in the coals of your fire. You have your bonfire just in the coals, all right? So it's actually, the seaweed burns a little bit. There's a little bit of moisture in there, and so the fish cooks fairly quickly, and you pull out that fish. And so the fish will have a little bit of that burnt seaweed moment and that fish and that saltiness in there. And a little bit, that's what I'm getting. All right, so that was the best description I could give for this at the moment. All right, so which sounds actually nice, and it is on the nose a good thing. Now there is some iodine in there, and there's a little bit more of a like a pine, almost a pine sol moment there going on as well. All right, the Laphroaig 10 normal, cask strength normal. Oh, much more the pine moment. Ooh, almost like an air freshener that's pine, that's artificial. And what I'm also getting over here, and a little bit here, is a barbecue moment, like the rub you put on a barbecue, on like a brisket. I like, but it's not a brisket rub. It's more of a pork. It's pork rub is what it is. Yeah. Sorry. There's a lot more paprika in a pork rub, I thought, and so that's that. I'm not the barbecue expert, so don't criticize me and write down what a real pork rub should be like. All right. Cheers. That's on my list for 2023, maybe, is to start doing more barbecues and so on. Cheers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, This was the champion here at our blind tasting. I understand why. It has a beautiful, beautiful balance between the power of the alcohol and the peat of Laphroaig. That's good. That's good. I'm going to give this a C plus. Value for money, I think a C minus. Now, if you like Laphroaig 10, you're going to probably love Laphroaig 10 Cask Strength. Try to find a bottle at an okay price. I found prices of this anywhere from 90 euros up to 150 euros. Come on, that's too much of a spread. All right, so now I do know this is the 2020 version. We now have 2022. And so I also bought the 2021 version for a little bit more. I think also 95, whatever. Yeah, so don't overpay for it. But if you need a bottle, try to find one and try to pay the normal price for it. Don't get gouged by anyone just because you have to try it. So that's why it's more of a C minus type of price. I would prefer to have a bourbon cask strength. I'd prefer to have a non-peated single malt cask strength. But this, if I had to pick a cask strength peated whiskey, this might be one of the top 3 that I picked there. All right, that's as much compliment, that is as much recommendation as I can give. That was a lot. All right. So over here, the 10-year-old. Artificial caramel. I don't know if I can taste the artificial coloring in here, but that's what it tastes like. A lot more of a bitterness. And here what I get is a lot more of those old tired casks. At least that's what I'm thinking of. It's a little bit of an old wood, overused old wood moment. Here, the cask seems to be much clearer, much fresher, much betterly suited to this product than these. It's a tiny little bit sweeter as well. If I had the choice, I would not drink this. All right, so this is not something I would voluntarily pour in a glass ever, unless I'm comparing things and wanting to find out how they compare. All right, very, very good. Another thing, water. Some people say, like it says here, diluted down 2 to 1. Don't do that. I'm going to dilute it down to about 48-50%. I personally prefer it at cask strength. All right, my palate is apparently not overwhelmed by 60.1%, but it gets a little bit of a carousel moment, a little bit of a tar moment when you add water to it, which I am absolutely not fond of. A much better product at cask strength, in my opinion. Ooh, not really good. And yeah, that changes to something I don't like. All right, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. Question of the day, what is your favorite Laphroaig product? If you're a Laphroaig fan, what is your favorite Laphroaig batch of cask strength 10-year-old? And if you're not a Laphroaig fan, what is your favorite Islay whiskey? All right, that allows you to also add Buna, which is not peated, unless it says so, I hope. Sometimes it doesn't. All right, good. But we also have unpeated whiskeys on Islay, which I'm looking forward to. Thank you very much for watching. WhisykJason here. All the best. See you soon. Bye-bye.